I'm going to spend 100 days stranded on this survival island in hardcore Minecraft. I can't craft a boat, stone and saplings are hard to come by, grass doesn't drop seeds, and there are a ton of dungeons that I have to clear in order to survive. Will I be able to make it off the island and get back home? How will I clear out the dungeons with limited resources? Watch as I take on this epic challenge and push myself to the limit to try and survive for 100 days alone on this island. Day 0 started the same as any other. I was on board a flight making a delivery to another warehouse, but something was wrong. Suddenly there was a huge bang and the lights went out. There were explosions coming from everywhere. I didn't know what to do. The pilots were trying to steady the aircraft, but nothing was working. I sat down and prepared myself for what was to come. I must have blacked out because the next thing I knew, I was on a life raft, stranded in the middle of the ocean. There was nothing around for miles, no sign of life. There was nothing I could do, so I lay down in the raft and let the tide take me. I awoke with a start when the raft crashed into something. I knew this was my only shot at surviving, so I grabbed the paddle and some of the material from the life raft and ventured onto the island. It was clear I wouldn't last long if I didn't make a bed and some tools, so I broke down the nearest tree and crafted myself a sword, a pickaxe and a bed so I could sleep through the night. When I awoke in the morning, an ominous message filled the screen. I'd have to make sure that I checked to see if anything washed up on the shore while I was here. On day 1, I decided I was going to explore the island and try and get some more resources. I ended up committing a terrible crime, sorry parrot, and had a quick look in a couple of the caves where I found a brown mushroom and my first few pieces of coal. The next cave I found ended up being full of mobs. Luckily they were on the level below so I could take them out with my trusty wooden sword. I made a few torches so I could see inside the cave, grabbed some more mushrooms, a bit more coal and then headed back down to the shore where I set up a campfire and slept through the night. For the next few days I really focused my efforts on trying to get some more resources and food. I decided to head out into the ocean and grab some fish which I could cook on my campfire. After that, I had a look in a few more caves and found a river running through one. It looked nice, but I was in no way prepared to fight the mobs in there, so I ran straight back out. The next morning, I had a horrible surprise as a flaming undead baby zombie came racing at me from across the beach. Luckily, I stayed calm and dealt with it, got some more fish and went back into the caves. I was feeling a bit braver after my encounter with the baby zombie, so I ventured deeper and came across a room filled with cobblestone. I grabbed all that I could see, made my first stone tools and returned to my camp. On day 4, I decided to head to the top of the island. When I got up there, I received another message telling me to check the shore. I couldn't see anything from where I was, but I did find some stone, further increasing my chances of survival. After returning to camp, I crafted my first furnace and used the logs I'd collected to make some charcoal. Then I spent the rest of the day trying to find whatever had washed up on shore. I quickly realised I'd set up camp at the wrong beach when I came across this right where we first landed. I had a look in the barrel and received my first set of armour, which kind of looked like it had belonged to one of the pilots. Sorry, Albert. I made sure to grab everything, equipped the armour and carried on exploring the beach, where I found a parcel. I couldn't open it, but it said it was special, so I held on to it. After that, I returned to camp and got another horrible surprise as the camp had been raided by flaming zombies. Luckily, I was able to take them out and also got some string from a couple of spiders, which allowed me to craft a fishing rod. I spent the rest of the day moving my things over to the main beach and did some fishing to refill my food supply. On day 7, I explored more of the beach and came across a ton of washed up packages. The first one had a bunch of VHS tapes in that I had no idea what to do with. The second was a bit more promising with a pair of ice skates in. Then I found even more armour, a couple of books and a volleyball. I put everything in my chest and spent the next 2 days gathering wood. On days 9 and 10, I ventured further along the left side of the island. I came across a large cave that had a family of zombies in, which I took outside to enjoy the sunshine. After heading back into the cave, I found a bunch of copper and coal and then had a peek at the cavern at the end. I noticed there were some spawners in here, so ran away before anything could see me and moved on to the next cave. Now this one was a real find. In here there was a small lush cave, so I grabbed some of the moss and azalea bushes, then headed home. On the way I found another package with some wool and paintings in. Then I got back to my camp and grew my first tree using one of the azalea bushes. Since I'd been living rough for 10 days, I decided enough was enough and gathered a ton of wood so I could build a house. I spent the next 5 days building a beach cabin that was right on the coast so I could easily check for new packages washing up on shore. By day 16, my house was finally finished, but I was low on food. I decided to swim out to get some fish, but my leg got impaled on a coral and I had to drag myself back home, feeling very sorry for myself. When I got home, I put up Albert's skull so I had someone to talk to, then continued my search of the island. I made it all the way to the other end of the island and spotted a ton of stone at the top of a rock. I climbed up there to gather the stone and stumbled across my very first music disc. I made sure to grab it as these are collectibles and made my way down to the beaches at the end of the island where I found some sugarcane. After I'd slept through the night, I decided to check out the nearby caves. I didn't find much apart from coal in the first few, so continued my search along the coast where I found another cave with a river flowing through it. I decided to follow it down to see where it went and ended up finding my first dungeon, the Lava Slime River. I started taking out some of the mobs and lit up a spawner, but then I noticed that creepers were spawning and I knew I wouldn't stand a chance against them with the little armour I had. I tried to make my escape back along the river and started to get swarmed by mobs. I fought as hard as I could against the current to try and get away from them, but an axolotl kept pushing me back down. After a bit of a panic, I made it back up the waterfall and saw daylight again, so I knew I could make it back home. My luck finally changed as I found a package with a chainmail chestplate in, so I equipped that, planted my sugarcane and spent the rest of day 20 restocking my food supplies. The next morning, I made a bunch of charcoal and a bed so I could spend more time out exploring. When I was about to leave, I realised the pocket watch I'd been carrying around granted me 4 armour if I held it in my offhand, which would prove to be invaluable. After heading back out along the coast, I found this narrow staircase leading up through the rock face, and when I reached the top, I came across Chuck's cave. In here, I found my second music disc, along with some cooked fish, nautilus shells and prismarine shards. After looting everything from the cave, I continued my search. I was prepared to go further this time, so made my way through a narrow ravine and cleared out some creepers that were lurking within. After a while, I stumbled across another lush cave, then found myself in a large chamber with mobs falling down from above. I did my best to light up the caves, but didn't find much, so decided to head back home, where I found another parcel with an enchanted fishing rod inside. I put my things away and went straight back out in search of something a bit more exciting. After some exploring, I came across this sandstone cave. I cleared out the zombies, had a look around and gave myself a heart attack when I realised I'd almost fallen all the way down to the cavern below. I continued to explore the cave and found my first pieces of iron, which was a huge win for me at this point. As I ventured deeper into the caves, I came across another room filled with cobblestone. I went inside and discovered a spawner, which I quickly got rid of and made my way through the passage at the other end of the room. Here I was swarmed by zombies, so barricaded myself in and took them out one by one so they couldn't hit me. I made my way into the next room and realised I'd discovered my second dungeon, the Zombie Dungeon Maze. The majority of the rooms contain zombies, holding different weapons or trying to disguise themselves as another mob. I used my method of barricading myself in so they couldn't get to me, which was the only way I was able to make it through without dying. Luckily, the zombies were dropping their items, so I managed to get some new gear, an iron sword and a potato, which I was very excited about. After this, things started to get a bit chaotic, with invisible zombies holding swords, and through the wall I could even hear some baby zombies, which are everyone's worst nightmare. So I ran straight back out of there and set up a sign at the entrance so I could find my way back. When I got home, I planted my first potato, and after looking along the beach, I found a package full of meat and ice, which really helped with the food situation. On day 26, I went back into the caves, killed even more zombies and found some more coal. I kept going deeper into the caves, shot a baby zombie in the face and then came across its parents, which were not happy to say the least. Eventually, I came across a large cavern and began lighting it up. I spotted a spawner on the other side and panicked when I saw it was sending a ton of baby zombies my way. I pillared up and started taking them out when I realised they were wearing iron armour, so I decided to stay here for a while and get as many drops as I could. After quite some time and many baby zombies killed, I'd managed to get myself several iron chest plates and chainmail leggings. My next challenge was the creeper spawner. These guys definitely had some kind of potion effects on them, and when I ran into the cloud that they left, I ended up with speed 2, resistance, health boost, and slow falling. I used this to my advantage to light up the rest of the cavern and collected all of the resources before heading back home. I ended up with some really good armour, crafted my first iron pickaxe, a new bow, and finished the day off by checking the beach, where I found a package with some questionable books inside. Since I'd been going back and to so much, I decided it was time to clear out some of the bushes and trees to make some paths. So I spent the next 5 days making a path through the middle and organised all of the chests in my house as things were getting a bit out of control. Once I'd finished sorting out my chests, I decided to explore on top of the hills again. I came across these strange blocks, so started digging down to see what was underneath and found a large cavern. I started making my way down and realised that I'd found a huge beehive. So I started lighting it up and saw the huge honeycombs that the bees had made. I didn't want to disturb them, so I left and continued exploring the island. After making my way down into the caves, I came across a huge cavern, and this time, instead of running away, I went down into it and started lighting it up. Of course, it was full of mobs that I had to deal with, but now I had my new armour and sword, I was able to clear them all out. I started gathering up materials and got a good amount of iron, coal, and even some gold and redstone too. Once I'd got all the resources, I made my way out and returned home, making good use of my brand new path. On the shore, I found a large package with an anvil inside. I couldn't believe my luck, so I placed it down inside my house and repaired the enchanted sword that I'd found. Since the new path was so useful, I spent days 40 to 44 building a second path leading off in the other direction. As soon as I'd finished that, I headed back out and returned to the zombie dungeon maze. I quickly found more rooms that I hadn't cleared out yet, so got to work taking out the zombies and collecting whatever loot they dropped. From this room alone, I managed to get plenty of new armour and a ton of enchanted shields. As I was making my way through, I came across a small cavern. In here, I finally managed to get hold of some red mushrooms and collected a bunch of ores. I went back to the maze and came across a truly awful room. Flying skeletons wearing creeper heads holding enchanted bows, and zombies with a full suit of armour on holding 2 iron swords. I won't lie, this room was a nightmare. I barricaded myself in to take care of the zombies, but I just couldn't get to the skeletons. While they were fighting each other, I ran to the back of the room, got rid of the spawner and found some netherite scrap. I quickly grabbed that and retreated to my safe spot while more zombies came. I managed to take out a couple of skeletons, but it was all getting too much and I'd run out of food, so I had to head back home. I put all of my loot away and decided to use all of my bone meal on the potatoes so I had enough food to keep me going for a while. After returning to the maze, I managed to find a sapling, a rabbit's foot, and even a totem of undying. Since I'd left the area, the awful skeletons had despawned, so I started to make my way into the next room, but was stopped in my tracks by a bunch of creepers. I'd managed to block them in, so took them out one by one and continued through the maze. Here I came across another room full of resources. I began collecting them, then spotted something up at the top of the wall. My very first diamond. I grabbed it as fast as I could, got the rest of the resources and went back to the maze. The next room I found ended up being zombies riding spiders. This wasn't too hard to clear out, but I did notice that the zombies were wearing turtle shells, so after some gentle persuasion, I managed to get one of my own. Then I found Steve in the next room, but I think he was feeling ill. His skin was all green and he kept moaning. It was pretty weird. I thought I'd come to the end as I found a small room with a skeleton spawner in. After clearing it out, I got another music disc, which ended up being Pigstep. I kept going through the remainder of the rooms, clearing them out one by one until I'd finally completed the entire maze and could go back home. I was really glad about this because the smell down there was awful. On day 51, I decided to investigate in front of the house as I kept hearing mobs. I dug down and to my surprise I found a huge cavern down there. As usual, it was full of mobs, so before I could explore I had to clear them all out. Everywhere I looked there was more, so this took me all day. Eventually I managed to light the area up, peered over the edge of the ledge that I was on and saw an end portal down there. I knew there was no way I could go to the end, so I lit up the rest of the area at the top and returned home. On day 52, I used my path to get to the middle of the island as I hadn't done much exploring around there. I saw a cave I liked the look of, so made my way over to it. Things became chaotic pretty quickly with all of the mobs, but after killing a few skeletons, I managed to get a zombie head, which meant I had another friend to talk to. I started lighting up the cavern I'd found, removed the spawner, and underneath I found some quartz. Beneath the quartz I found a ton of ores, then came across another music disc. Once the cave was clear, I returned to the surface to have a look around. I thought there might be a music disc on this branch, so stood on it, and it fell down! This made me panic so much as I thought for sure I would fall to my death, but luckily I didn't, and for some reason an armor stand appeared, so I grabbed that, returned home, placed down my zombie head and decorated the armor stand so I had a couple more friends on the island. After my near brush with death, I was more determined than ever to get off the island, so on day 54 I made a help sign behind the house and travelled up to the top of the hill to build a signal fire in the hopes that someone might come and rescue me. Spoiler alert, they didn't. On day 55, I'd calmed down a bit and went back into the caves. I was hoping to come across the baby zombie spawner again so I could get some more armour, but all I found were huge empty caverns. After a lot of walking around, I came across this nice ravine that led through the island. I spent some time exploring this and realised I'd walked to the other side of the island, so I set up a sign at the exit so I could use this as a shortcut. I kept searching for the baby zombie spawner and finally found it on day 57, so spent the next day or two gathering up some more pieces of armour. On day 59, I continued searching the caves and stumbled across the lush cave again. After lighting it up, I went through a connecting cave and ended up at the lava slime river. I knew now was the best chance I had at clearing it out, so I got to work. I noticed there were a lot of skeletons falling down from a ledge up above, so I pillared up, big mistake, and tried to get to the spawner. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea, because a skeleton shot me right off and I ended up down to 1 heart. I realised I needed to be more careful, so I dug a staircase up there instead and got the spawner that way. After this, I continued clearing out all of the mobs and managed to get a speed boost from a creeper that blew up. I'd arrived at the creeper spawner, so they were everywhere, but I was able to get rid of it, found another music disc, and used my speed boost to run all the way back home. When I got home, I went to check for packages, where I found another Totem of Undying and a package full of apples and wheat. After this, I remembered that I never did anything with the ice skates I found, so I used the recipe book and made a pickaxe and an axe with them, which I later realised were unbreakable. On day 63, I returned to the cavern below the house to light it up properly. In one of the tunnels, I came across this strange sign with a block of emerald next to it. I didn't know what the sign meant, so continued exploring, found more signs that said natural symmetry on them, and came across another lush cave. I started to light it up and realised I was now in the lower section of the cavern, where the portal is. Things got hectic pretty quickly, so I had to deal with all of the mobs before I could carry on exploring. I got rid of the spawner, grabbed another music disc, and checked out the portal. There wasn't really much to see here, so I continued exploring the surrounding caves. Found more resources, some skulk sensors with a sneaky emerald block, and returned home. My armour had taken quite a beating, so I decided to craft my own iron armour to replace it, and went back out in search of another cave. Down here I found so much coal, which meant I'd be able to do even more exploring. I kept going down deeper and noticed some magma blocks in a cavern below me. Now, I didn't get an achievement for this one, so let's just call it the magma chamber. I got to work lighting the area up, gathering resources and clearing out all of the mobs. There were a lot of them. I managed to make it down to the lower level and decided to grab myself a bucket of lava so I could make a cobblestone generator when I got back home. After that, I ended up having to clear out a swarm of zombies, got rid of the spawners and managed to grab myself some more loot and resources. I'd spent quite a while down here, so went up the waterfall in the middle, and luckily it brought me back out to the surface. I returned home, found a package with some gems in, and on day 70 I got to work building a cobblestone generator. Now, things did not go to plan with this. I wanted the design to match the house, so I did a nice wooden roof and things were fine at first. But when I woke up in the morning, the whole thing was burning down. I managed to salvage most of the wood I'd used, but I was not impressed with it, so I left it as the stone outline for now. On day 72, I did my usual routine of heading back down into the caves. I went down pretty far and stumbled into the spider den. At first I thought, oh, this is fine, spiders are pretty easy to kill, but I was so wrong. These guys had baby zombies riding on the back of them, and the baby zombies were holding swords. I did my classic panicking, tried to pillar up, which failed massively. Then I tried to block myself in somewhere, but it was too late. They had me cornered. I tried to take them out, but in the last second I had to use my totem, and luckily I was saved. I managed to compose myself and went back out to try and clear out some more spiders. This didn't work out too well, so instead I tunneled through the walls to get the spawners. This method worked much better, and I was able to make my way along the side wall and clear out each of the rooms. Along the way I found some more loot and a diamond, but I just want you to listen to what I was hearing the whole time. This place was hell. I swear I'm gonna have nightmares for weeks about this. I kept making my way along the side wall, getting rid of all of the spiders and spawners until I reached the end. After this, I tried to go down to the middle area, but there was no way. The spiders were swarming me and they had potion effects too. I tried to make a run for it, but got stuck in the cobwebs, so went back to my old method of digging my way there. I couldn't risk almost dying again. I collected resources as I went along and got rid of some of the spawners. After this, I made another run for it, grabbed the Totem of Undying, and managed to dig into the rock in the middle. From here, I was able to take out more spawners and could finally walk around the middle section to remove the rest. Finally, there was some peace, which meant I could search the area. I ended up finding a shulker shell, which I was very excited about, and another diamond, then made my way up to the middle platform. Up here, I grabbed the flowers and glowberries, then had a look on top of the tree where I found another music disc. Since this area was clear, I decided to search the surrounding caves. After a while, I came across another lush cave with a funny looking tree in it. By the tree, I found another music disc, then took a risk and pillared all the way up to the top so I could get out of there. I needed to lie down. When I got home, there was a lovely package waiting for me with some potions and an enchanted golden apple in it, and another with a diamond in, which made me feel a lot better. After the trauma of the spider den, I really needed a break from caving, so I moved the cobblestone generator far away from the house and built a nice farm to grow my potatoes in. Then joined everything together with some simple paths. When I'd done that, I had a mess around with the volleyball and created Wilson, my new best friend. On day 80, I was ready to go back into the caves. I found the lava slime river again, so went back down there to finish clearing it out. I'd already done most of it, but there were a few spawners left that I had to deal with. When it was clear, I began collecting the ores from inside the river to replenish my supplies, then had a look behind the waterfall. It's kind of known in gaming at this point that if there's a waterfall, there's gonna be something cool behind it. So behind it, I found this huge ravine. I started making my way along the sides, lighting it up as I went along. It wasn't long until I came across a spawner with a block of lapis next to it. The bottom of the ravine led off into a series of caves, which I decided to follow and came across another huge cavern with skeleton spawners in it. I ended up having a bit of trouble with a baby zombie and got swarmed by skeletons, but I managed to clear it out and had a look around. Hidden in the wall, I found another spawner room with a Totem of Undying in it, as well as some other loot. Then I carried on exploring and found this pond with bone blocks in it. I took a few and had a look at the back of the pond, where I found tons of ores and another diamond, which was very nice. Once I'd gathered everything, I returned to the cavern to take care of the rest of the spawners and explore the area, which is when I found this. It looked pretty crazy in there, and I could have sworn that there was an Enderman spawner, so I decided to come back when I was more prepared, making sure to leave a sign at the exit so I could find my way back. When I got home, I grabbed Wilson, just in case there were a lot of Endermen in there, and made the long journey back to the cave. At the end of day 85, I finally found it again and went down to tackle the slime mushroom cave. This cave had a series of islands in it that had hidden spawners dotted around. So I made my way to each island, clearing them out so I could have a proper look around. Since these mushrooms were made of slime, I wanted to take some of it. After removing part of the mushroom, I realised that it went down to a deeper level underneath. I wasn't ready to go down there just yet, so I carried on clearing out the top islands. Things ended up becoming a bit chaotic, but I was able to secure the area and have a proper look inside the mushrooms. Down there, I noticed some baby zombies. Luckily, I was able to take these out using my bow so I could travel down there safely. At the bottom, it was basically a repeat of the zombie dungeon maze, but this time I had to deal with baby zombies and whatever else had spawned in there. Nightmare. Luckily, there was some loot, so I managed to get a phantom membrane and another piece of netherite scrap. I had a look in the next one and made a terrible mistake. I didn't pillar up, so all of the baby zombies started attacking me, and then I had to use another totem of undying. I really hate baby zombies. After this, I learnt from my mistakes and pillared up as soon as I got into the room so I could clear it out without almost dying again. The skeletons weren't too happy about this though. I grabbed the loot and moved on to the next couple of rooms, which thankfully gave me a bit of a break as they were full of ores and a music disc. In this next room, I don't know what I was thinking. I made a run for it and didn't realise there was a group of baby zombies in the corner. I was in full panic mode trying to pillar up and failing, but eventually I managed it and got rid of them all. Whoever added baby zombies to Minecraft, we need to talk. In here I found a ton of quartz and finally made it to the last couple of rooms where I got myself a diamond and some beetroot seeds. Since this area was now completed, I made my way back home and found a package with all of this inside. I took it easier on day 91 and extended my paths a bit, trying to forget about the baby zombies. After I'd recovered, on day 92, I went back down into the caves and travelled deeper and deeper until I came across the calcite skeleton cave. I was so done with all of the mobs at this point that I jumped straight in, removed the spawner and started clearing out the area. It was a bit crazy, but nothing I couldn't handle. Then I saw this. What is going on down here? I carried on getting rid of all of the mobs, collected the loot from the middle, found another diamond and finished off securing the area. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find a music disc in here, so instead I started exploring the surrounding caves where I found another large ravine. I went along the bottom but wasn't finding much, so made my way up to the ledges in the middle. Up here I found a few spawners, which I removed of course. Found this little tunnel full of emeralds, which then led into this really nice flooded cave. I spent some time exploring the area, found tons of coal and then came across this amazing little cave filled with glowstone. After making sure it was secure, I started gathering some of the glowstone, the quartz that was at the back and also the ores, which is where I found another diamond. Then I returned to the flooded cave and went up the waterfall, which, like the last one, ended up leading out into the ocean so I could easily get back home. On day 95, I decided to change things up a bit and explore the land again as I really needed to gather up some more wood. I went to some spots that I hadn't really visited before and ended up finding watermelon seeds and some more beetroot seeds, which I collected. I had a quick nosy in a few caves, but they were empty, so returned home to get prepared to go out again for the final 2 days. I decided to head back to the ravine that I found a few days earlier to finish clearing it out. I began by clearing out the spawners on the upper level and found a raw gold block in one room and a raw copper block in another. After this, I had a look in a few of the surrounding caves and came across my first geode. It was lovely, but I had to keep exploring if I wanted to make it off the island. The next cave I went in led into a large cavern that I had to clear out. I found a small garden with some carrots growing in it, and to my surprise there was another geode in here. After a bit more exploring, I found a cave with some light at the end of it. I had a look and discovered a nether portal. I thought this could be my way off the island, so I smelted up my gold, made some gold boots, and on day 100 I was about to step into it when a message popped up saying something important has washed up on the shore. So I ran back home as fast as I could. Thankfully I'd lit up most of the ravines so no mobs could ambush me. I raced across the beaches, through the rock pools and finally made it home where a large package was waiting for me on the sand. Inside was a porta potty wall and a map. I had a look at the map and it turned out to be a recipe for a boat. This was it. I grabbed my friend Wilson and the special package that I was supposed to deliver, crafted the boat and set sail from the island. Now, I sailed for a long time. I thought I'd made a terrible mistake, but I just kept going. Eventually, something incredible came into view. It was a huge ship. It didn't look very friendly at all, but it was my only hope of returning home. I went up to the ship and I must have passed out because the next time I woke up, I was home. I was pretty confused and it was dark outside, but I said hello to the dog, ran home and slept in my own bed for the first time in a very long time. That morning, I went over to the barn at the back of the house and completed the challenge. Thank you so much for watching. I've wanted to do this challenge for a really long time and I'm so glad that I've finally been able to do it. The creator of this map did an amazing job and it was so much fun to play. If you'd like to play it yourself, I've left the link to the download page in the description. I really hope you enjoyed the video and please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me do something like this again. Thank you again for watching, I really do appreciate it.